Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another interview before we head into the Brazil lock-in event. As you guys can see, I have Redgar with me here from Team Liquid. Hi, Redgar. How's everything going? How are you doing?
Hello, Vince. Hello, everyone. It's like okay right now. Preparing for the tournament, like making some strats and then other stuff.
That's what I like to hear. I know that you haven't actually managed to relocate to the Netherlands yet, where Team Liquid is currently based, and where some of the players are there already. So, what is your living situation right now? When are you planning to move? Have you met the boys yet, or anything like that?
Right now, I'm like living in Serbia, and the future plans is like we're all gonna play in the Berlin, so we're gonna move to the Germany and live together. It's gonna be really interesting, and I'm really excited to see the boys because I think it will be boost our morale during the tournament. Like we meeting each other, we're spending the time, and it's like some new. I will think like good memories for each other, and I think it will also boost ourselves.
So you haven't seen them at all. So when you go to Brazil, that'll be the first time you actually properly like meet everybody, except for Nat.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's gonna be really fun.
Oh, that's going to be interesting. You guys are all meeting for the first time. Speaking of Nats, I do want to kind of rewind a little bit and talk about Gambit. This is at the special request of Bola, your biggest fan. Gambit's biggest fan, you know this. You guys kind of like went through a really hard year. It seemed like nothing was going right for all of you. And, talk me through your emotions of that project ending. Was there ever a world we would have seen all five of you maybe signing to another team that isn't Gambit? Was that ever an option?
If we're talking like I will start first with the previous year, I think it was really hard when you're losing 4 out of 5 opportunities to qualify on the tournaments. Like we counted that close to the LCQ. We said, hey, we lost like 3 out of 4 situations. Let's gonna do everything to win it right now. And we lost one more, and it was like we're just giving the chance to everyone, like we made like the first year of competitive, let's make like someone to shine in the second, like, and after we'll find out who is good and make the good team. But overall, I think it might be the chance, but not in the close future, because I think maybe we need like to change our environment, everyone, to becomes better, because when you don't have like the fresh blood in your team, we just playing as a five. Also, we played like too much, and after like when we got the Jadi, we played as a four also too much. And I think sometimes you need like just new ideas, new stuff, and when you change the players, that might give you the boost. But we didn't have like a lot of time for that. But I think we still show like the good results. We stand in like on LCQ, in my opinion. We try to do our best. But overall, like we're moving forward. Life is not over, so we just gonna grab like another trophies with nuts. So I think if we're talking about maybe the goals of this year, for personally, I want like to make our meta that we will try to prepare be the main meta of this year, like with some secret stuff. I'm not gonna tell which one, so everyone's gonna be prepared and waiting for that. And I really like the boys, and I think that we have the connection. And I think when we're gonna play a lot of tournament experience together and we're gonna have a lot of stuff, we're gonna play really, really good. And I hope like to make even with this team like the era like of Liquid.
I do have a few questions about Liquid, of course, but before we get into that, I do want to ask you a little bit of a light-hearted. Well, it's not really light-hearted now I think about it, but there's a meme. People are kind of memeing on the fact that the split game against Fnatic is what ended Gambit, is what was like the last straw. Is there any truth in that? Do you feel like that was like maybe the turning point for you guys?
I can spoil about that. We played one Prague versus Fnatic and it's ending like 12-12. So I think overtime is still alive for us.
Yeah, I'm glad you can answer that with a smile, Redgar, because that was a really crazy game. I think it's kind of edged into our brains for the rest of our
No,
lives.
one thing, sorry, like when we played after the game, I'm only realized that we like lose like it was 0.02 seconds. I didn't even realize it during the game. I didn't. I just like was focused when he was close to Clash already, like thinking about the next round, what should we do? I didn't even watch of that timing. And after the game, when someone told me what we could win or something like this, I saw that and I was like, not like.
I think it's a good thing you didn't know that in the game because I feel like that would have been it would have been the heartbreaking would have been like worse maybe. But when it does come to the Gambit project ending, of course, you know you and Nats have decided to stay together and move on. What was the reason for this? Were you always kind of planning to stay together? Would you have stayed together even if it wasn't Liquid? What was the reason?
I think it's like the situational things. We didn't know who is gonna be signed because it was like maybe the secret information, or they just didn't want to spoil to us, like, and other stuff. But we spoke with Ayaz like one time when I kind of understand that they might write to him also, and I just wrote to him like, "Hey, it's do is you okay like to be with me like as AGL?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, of course, let's go, let's win some trophies."
I love that. Like you asked him if it's okay. I feel like a lot of people will feel like honored, you know, to be able to play with an IGL like you, especially when it comes to Team Liquid, because I feel like they always had an IGL problem, right? You know, as well as anyone else. They either didn't have an IGL or they like asked one of the players that didn't IGL before to take that responsibility. So how are you feeling about this new Liquid, given that, you know, you are one of the strongest IGLs in our region?
I definitely can say that I heard like how they trained before, how we're training right now. It's like the different things. Because, for example, for us in Gambit was okay to play about 6, 7 screens per day, and we could play it like whole year, like in this tempo. But I found out that not every team is playing like this. Someone is playing like 3 or 4 screens, and we have like different variation. Like sometimes we're playing like 6, like I am doing it, and sometimes we're playing in another, just mixing and find out what is the best for us. And it's not only this, like we have a difference between us, like also in view on the situation sometimes. Like I learn from them, they learn from me, and we are open, and it's really nice because when we started to it was the first day when we meet each other, and it was like the main point from everyone when it's asking like what is like important for you and what you want from the team. And I'm really glad that everyone's on the same page, that they want like to speak freely into the team. Because when, for example, you don't like to play like this and you just hide in it, and after official you can lose because of that, it's like going back on your mental things, and because you just keep silence. And I'm glad that everyone just freely can speak, like if I did wrong, or I can speak to them if they are wrong. Because as a captain, I usually like to, when we are screaming, to tell the mistakes from my point of view, like why they are doing not right this and how it should be better, in my opinion. Maybe it's not the best one, but when you see that someone is making mistakes, it's really nice that you're open for conversation about situation, find out how the best way how to play this, so you become better from every day.
And it also feels like you have a nice blend of personalities. You know, you have like some people with really high energy, some people who are more kind of calm. And obviously, it's like 50% of the players from Liquid, and then you have like you and Nat, and then like Safe comes from Guild. They're very different play styles. They're very different like philosophies. So is this new Liquid like 50% Gambit, 50% Liquid, or is it more like 80% Gambit, 20% Liquid? Like, what is going on?
It's hard to say, to be honest. I think on official we'll find out the answer. But I think what I can make right now, it's like it's gonna be like the new strat, because some things that I tried with the Gambit, we couldn't play it because of our personalities. And like, for example, someone is not like to calling into the mid game and the other stuff. But right now I have a people who can make it, and it makes our playstyle more variative. And because of that, I think it's gonna be a really good combination of everything. But we will see on official how it's gonna be. Because right now, how the things are going on, I really like it.
Do you have then like a secondary caller? Is this what you're saying? Like maybe someone who is taking charge when you're not doing it?
Right now is safe. Like before, it was Ayaz, and when we started to play together, I wanted to that Ayaz is gonna be the same. But when I watch how safe, like taking responsibility, reacting really fast, he's really smart player. I don't know like what people are talking about him, like, but he's really smart and really nice guy who is taking responsibility for the calls, and he's not scared of that. And it's really important to be as a second in-game leader. And also he's understand, for example, if I call the round, and if even if he's gonna have like another idea, he should follow the call. He's not like that kind, you know, maybe you hear like second IGLs who is trying to take your place and call, even if you already called, they're just doing what they want. And it's really good that you know hierarchy in the team.
I mean, I guess, like you said, Nat can do it as well. So maybe in the future, when you have like some defense attack maps variations, you always have like two pretty vocal people, it sounds like, on your team. Does this impact the roles at all? Because if you look at Liquid, I think some of the roles are pretty obvious. Like, what are we going to see? Like, if Nat is not playing Cypher Redgar, like, something's going on, something's going wrong. But what about the rest of the players? Because like there's a bit of an overlap between Yumpe and Safe, and like to an extent Soulcast as well. I feel like maybe your role is pretty well defined. I know you don't might not want to leak everything, but has that been a major change at all on your team?
I think I don't want to spoil our positions, to be honest, but I'm gonna say that my role is really suits what I wanted to play like since the start of the game, you know, like, and even in Gambit I tried to play on this role and I really like it. So I'm
So
not gonna say what is role.
so Reina, you're playing Reina again?
Only on Haven. No, Winstaban Haven.
Oh.
I'm kidding. But I think, for example, if you're talking about the Euro, I'm just overall, it's not like the spoil or something. I just think the Euro is really nice variation to surprise the enemies, like for one time. It's really good that you can use it. I don't think that a lot of teams, for example, prepare like two compositions on this tournament because there is a lot of changes in the teams. But I think during maybe like FPX, for example, oh, Navi, sorry. No, now could make it because they have like 4 players, and I think it's the only one team, and maybe like PaperX. Oh yeah, and there is not a lot of teams that have changes, but some of them can prepare like 2 or 3 um, different variation of compositions that they can surprise the enemies because it's like the one live tournament, and have different variation makes it harder for the opponents to prepare for yourself. So it's like I think the key is gonna be the adaptation. It's and like have some unexpected picks.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned those teams that only made one change. You know, I feel like they're still like the highest rated on paper, but at least in Europe, everybody thinks that you made the best changes. Like Liquid did the best changes. They won off season. You know, they brought in the best players. Would you agree with that? Do you feel like that's a fair assessment of what your team is going to be like?
I can say that the moral that we have right now, I really like it. Like even if it's bad things, we can like sometimes joke and it's come back like we playing good. And we have like the people on the same page, they're hard workers and they're fine with the critics that I can give it to them. And it's really nice because, you know, like sometimes you can't even expect the mentality of the people. And even like we're from our different regions, and it could be like the language barriers and the etc. But they're okay with that, and I'm okay with that, and it's really good. I can't say like in the game because I don't like to predict that kind of things, but as a personalities, I think it's the most important thing that we suit to each other. Yeah, we can like complain because you know like after the honeymoon period, it's gonna be that it all depends on the small things, details, and even after everyone's gonna live with together, and it's gonna be really mess, I guess, in some teams when they're living together. But I think if we're talking about the personalities, it's really good rotations for the Liquid. I can say it properly. If it's good, like in the game, we will see it on the official, right? Because
Yeah.
on paper, it can be like every team can be insane. Yeah, like the Cloud9, I think they really have a lot of good players, right? Like the Sentinels, like the other teams, we can say like for everyone. But what is like on paper? Like what do we see on the tournament? Like how the people will handle the pressure and the etc.
Doesn't mean anything until you play, you know. It's
Yeah.
just speculation. And speaking of playing, your first opponent is one that you're very familiar with, and I'm very familiar with because you gave us that 13-0 team against Team Secret the last time you played against them as Gambit. Yeah. Although I will say, you did drop map one, and then I think that kind of like the EU fans took a lot of shit after you lost map one because everyone was like, oh, it's fraud, EU is a bad region, all this stuff, but then you 13-0'd them. So they've made a couple of changes, but they still have like a few players that you've already faced. What do you think about this matchup, and what do you think about Team Secret?
I watched the video about the Team Secret that they spoke about each other's and the other stuff. And I think it's really good that you have a combination of the old player and the new player, and you can combine all of this. It's really nice. Like I really like combinations and some experiments. And I think that they can play like in really good Valorant, like they played before, even before on the tournament. Yeah, they showed really nice performance, and I really like that. So if they're gonna keep it up and they will bring new ideas, they will be high motivated. Plus, we played versus each other. It's the first game. Like we didn't play an official, they didn't play an official. We're in the same scenario. It's maybe all depends on the crowd because like we have Team Liquid Brazil fans, and maybe they will support us more than another teams. But usually, I think we are all in the common situation, right? So I just want to play versus a lot of teams. And when I have like in my bracket, if we, for example, moving to another's like every, not maybe every people in the EU can say that, yeah, now we qualify and like vitality for the bracket, but I'm not gonna be sure that it's like for 100%.
What I will say is, and now I'm glad you mentioned wanting to play a lot of teams because I know it means a lot to you to be able to go to these tournaments, especially, you know, after winning one. I think you understood, you know, how it felt, what it meant. And I know it was really tough that you didn't get to go to any of those events that you wanted to go to last year. So how do you feel about this one? Are you emotional about it? Are you excited? Are you anxious? You know, talk me through it.
Um, it's hard to say. I think I'm tired, but if we're talking about what I expect from tournament, I just want to have fun. Like I didn't want to play versus EU teams, not because I'm scared to play versus them. Like, come on, I'm gonna play versus them in 1 month. Why should play on the tournament where there's a lot of international team? I should play versus EU teams. I'm really glad that our first opponents are not EU teams, to be honest. It's gonna be really like sad, for example, if like two teams from one region are going to the Brazil and they're flying a lot of time of period and they're just playing one best of three and one of the teams is going back, it's really sad. But it's like the reality, right? The strongest people, the strongest teams are gonna have more fun, right? So yeah, I really want to play versus like really a lot of teams. Like for example, play versus Crew again is gonna be really fun to meet them again.
That was the best
Uh,
game. That was the best actual international game. That was insane. Yeah, I hope that happens.
Yeah, I hope too, like to meet like and play in front of the people because for me and for Ayas it's gonna be the first experience to play in the crowd because before yeah we play without crowd and it feels like you're not playing like at home, you know, like sometimes when you're doing on learning some stuff, when you're sitting every time at home, it doesn't feel like when you go, for example, learn some things in the cafe or like in the park, you just go and it's different atmosphere, right? It was like kind of the same into the Berlin, right? But right now we're gonna play with the crowd who is gonna watching you how you're playing. It's gonna be the different thing. But I think I will more like it than I don't like it.
Yeah, I think you'll feed off the energy, like, you know, when they're really, really
Yeah.
supporting you. And obviously, this is going to be the first time for you to be able to see some of your international like friends again. So, is there anyone that you're particularly looking forward to just seeing, not necessarily like playing against them, but you just want to give them a hug?
Oh, everyone. Like, yeah, it's really fun. Like to meet a lot of guys in their personal. For example, like with Vanity, we spoken a lot. Like with FNS, like I can like sorry to mention other guys. Like, but it's a lot of people that I would like to meet. Like for example, also like Forsaken, right? Mind Freak. Like there's a lot of people, and I'm not mentioning it because it's too much, right? But it's from every region, it's like also the rigs, like, and it's hard to say like everything right now because it's gonna be a lot of like the duration of the video will be so large then.
I mean, this is a good tournament for you because you actually get to meet everyone, like almost, if, well, you're the second batch, but almost everyone,
Yeah.
everyone in your group. So that's going to be nice for you. And yeah, I can't wait to see people's reaction because I feel like they don't realize how tall you are. I didn't realize how
So,
tall you are before I met you. Yeah, I mean, all the Gambit boys were so tall, and I feel like you see that you're like a basketball team, you know, when you show up to LAN.
yeah, I remember that then say like it's basketball team or what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the last question before I let you go, I'm gonna have to ask you to do something you don't like to do. Apologies in advance. But there's been a lot of tier lists. You know, people like to tier list other teams going into tournaments, and this one's an interesting one because like everything is new, so we can just kind of judge based off of maybe past results or just like on paper. But you know how good your team is because obviously you've been cracking, you've been with your team. If I asked you where in a tier list you will put Team Liquid going into Brazil, like S, A, B, C, D, and so on, where are you going to put Team Liquid?
Says like I'm not like to predict, but confidence is another word, right? So I'm confident in ourselves. So of course I'm gonna put in SSS tier.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Wow. Okay, I think you're the only person. I asked everyone this question. I think you might be the only person that said S. I think.
We're gonna see, like, because I think if you're not confident in yourself, it's hard to show full potential into the game. Because I remember when we played versus Crazy Raccoons, right? At the first game and the second game, it was different one. And I think just on the first game, they were more nervous than us, and we just eat them, right? But on second, they showed really, really nice game, and it was really respect that they, like take their will into their hands and they start to play like they can play, and it's really nice. And I want like for everyone for the team, just go with the confidence, and if you're gonna show what you prepared, you're gonna show the great results. Even if you're gonna lose, losing is hard, but when you're going on full potential, like you're not regret that you didn't do that much, it's gonna be the good end. You did everything that you can.
I think you said this to me before that you'd rather have two teams to play at their best, like absolute try their best, than to like 13-0 someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I want that too, you know, for the viewership. But thank you very much, Redgar, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you again in Brazil.
Yeah, me too. Bye bye.